America used to look like this. Mid-America used to look like this. It wasn't always composed of a monoculture of turf grasses that didn't even evolve here, that evolved 9,000 miles away. Kentucky bluegrass isn't from Kentucky. It's not even from North America. There's nothing American about it. This is America. All this stuff is what makes the landscape around you and what made it for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years before you got here. All right, we need to bring this back, appreciate it. This is building soil, sticking carbon in the ground, and enriching everyone's life around it who gets to experience it, okay? Got to burn it once in a while, once a year, once every 3 years, whenever, you know? Takes minimal management. Once you get it going, once you get it established, it's minimal management. You want to make a path through it? Yeah, you just cut a little path, mow it, mulch it, whatever. Look at that nice wasp. But this is life. This is what life should be, all right? Lawns aren't normal. They are weird. They're weird. Stop doing them. Bring this stuff back. Everybody seems to think that forests fix the most carbon, but in temperate zones, that's not true. The biggest fixers of carbon and the biggest carbon sinks in North America, especially here in the Midwest, are grasslands. And grasslands are dominated by a plant habit called the herbaceous perennial habit, where the roots stay alive, but the tops, the vegetation, dies every year. It emerges, I don't know, here in the Midwest, probably in May or June. Just you get this explosion of growth, a massive production of biomass in a relatively short time, and then it's all gone by, I don't know, late October, early November, and the roots stay alive. Trees are adapted to burning, or all that old vegetation just decomposes, on the ground, just slowly rots, gets eaten up by the bacteria and fungi and what the which of course emits CO2. Burning also emits CO2. But all of that is negated by the fact that you're storing so much more biomass in the ground in the form of roots. Because the roots of many of these prairie species go sometimes 15, 20, 25 feet down. I've even heard reports of silphium and some of the grasses going down to 30 feet down below the soil. If you could look at a cross-section cutaway of the soil right here, you would see what I'm talking about, this dense interlacing network of roots. Look here, you can't even see the ground, all right? It's dominated by the solidago, you got the eupatorium over there, and especially these massively important species right here, Big Bluestem, Andropogon, gerardii, and Sorghastrum nutans, aka the Indian grass. Right here, I'm looking at the seeds of Indian grass, Sorghastrum nutans. Over here, of course, we got the Big Bluestem, which is notable for that kind of turkey foot inflorescence. Those three rames, as they call them. Sometimes you got four, sometimes you only got two, but look at the color on that. One of the most beautiful grasses in North America. Beautiful purple color, and you can see those awns looking like little hairs coming off of them. I gotta be honest, I normally don't care about grasses. I get a little curious about them, because they're essential parts of ecosystems, but I don't go nuts over them. I'm not out there trying to key them out using a flora, figure out what I'm looking at, etc. If someone tells me it's a certain species, I say okay. And then I move on to the flowering and all the cool, even ferns, other stuff that really, gets me jazzed. But right here, these two species, Sorghastrum nutans and Andropogon gerardii, really wet my whistle, okay? They really blow my mind. All right, look at this fucking thing. Look at this. Incredible. And this is not even as big as it gets. Some of them get upwards of 6, 7 feet tall. Okay, these are some of the most important plants in North America because they build soil. Okay, the tops die every year, but again, they're just building these massive root systems. Who knows how long lived they are? Who knows how long they can persist, but they seed profusely, and those root systems are what creates the soil. The reason that these prairies, had that rich black soil is because of plants like this. I mean, also a lot of those flowering plants, those dicots, also produce soil. They've got massive root systems, but the grasses were really dominant, and they were so ecologically important, both as the base of the food system for all the larger mammals and other herbivores that ate them, but also because they just build so much soil, and that soil is sequestered carbon. All right, now I don't want to get into it. If you don't believe in climate change, let's just not talk about it at dinner. I don't care. I'm not going to convince you, and you're not going to convince me. If someone tells me the sky is purple, I'm not going to believe it because they watched a 3-minute YouTube video. Let's just not talk about it. But if you do give a shit about climate change, one of the best things you can do is get rid of your fucking lawn and plant a native prairie garden if you live in the region. Okay, and this is a pretty large region where this grows. I mean, the distribution of Andropogon gerardii is pretty widespread, as well as Indian grass, Sorghastrum nutans, and they also can get a lot bigger than this. Okay, I mean, these beautiful bunch grasses are so underappreciated. Look at the stems on those. Tell me that's not nice looking, all right? And this is what grass wants to do. It doesn't want to be mowed down to an inch of the soil, you know, once a week, 26, 30 times a year, 35 times a year, depending on what latitude you're at and how much warmth you get. It doesn't want to get mowed down, all right? You're cutting away those solar panels every time you mow, which means the roots aren't going to get that deep, which is why the roots of, you know, non-native grasses like Kentucky bluegrass, which isn't even fucking from Kentucky, don't build soil. They don't do shit. That's why they're such a pain in the ass to maintain. You're keeping them in a perpetually stressed state. So what do you do with your yard? Kill your lawn, put a native prairie garden in, make some nice paths through and shit, lay down mulch, whatever. You can even keep the grass and just mow a path. You know, put a little bench over there where you can rest, have a cocktail, meditate, maybe smoke a doob after work, whatever, and calm down. Listen to this. Listen to the way this sounds. Listen to how nice this is. Got jets overhead. I got some kids, you know, setting up a bounce house behind me and a forest preserve. But right here, it is peace, it is tranquility, and it is utterly soothing. So anyway, learn these two species of grass, okay? Grasses can be a pain in the ass, but if you live in the region, these are two species you absolutely should know. The Indian grass, Sorghastrum nutans, with those golden inflorescences, kind of feathery. And then the typical turkey foot, beautiful purple of Big Bluestem, Andropogon gerardii, all right? And most importantly, get these in your goddamn garden. At least have a little patch. They're gonna slowly build soil. They're slowly stocking carbon in the ground. The tops die, rot, burn off, whatever, but those roots stay alive and slowly build that soil. They're what created that rich black soil of the prairies. Look at that, you got a species of ascomycete fungal smut. Fungal smut, a smut peddler, growing here in these inflorescences of Big Bluestem. Right, same thing going on with corn smut, which is a delicacy in Mexico, or that fungus that that produces that same secondary metabolite that LSD, aka acid, was synthesized after. Look at it. Wonder if it's psychoactive or edible. Who knows? See that? There you go. Sometimes the turkey foot only has 2 toes, but you pull that back and you can see what's going on. Those individual those spikelets. There's a turkey foot, but keep confusing that with turkey neck. What's a turkey neck? Look at all this though. The biggest, most ecologically dominant plant here is Sorghastrum nutans, the Indian grass. You also get Big Bluestem, which you got right there, but probably the most dominant plant is that Sorghastrum nutans. And then sprinkled within it, you got all these other cool flowering plants that provide all the nectar for pollinators. Remember, most grasses are wind pollinated. The benefit that they provide doesn't come in the form of nectar because they just drop their pollen on the wind, you know, those nice seeds, and then you know, start to build root mass. They put these solar panels up, take in all the sun, and then just start building root mass with those roots. Again, going down 15, 20 feet, in some cases 30 feet. Look how dense this is. You can't see the ground in a lot of these areas, in a lot of these prairies. Then you look out there and it's all Sorghastrum nutans and Andropogon gerardii. The benefit of the grasses comes from the fact that they build that rich soil, okay? They get those massive root systems, and then when the grass eventually dies, and who knows how long they live, those roots stay in the ground, whereas all the above ground veg eventually burns off or gets decomposed by fungi. Learn to appreciate the grasses. They're the foundation of this ecosystem. It's mostly grasses, 60 to 70% grasses, and then interspersed within that, you get all the cool solidagos, the pycnanthemums, virginianum, native member of the oregano family, aka the mountain mint, Lespedeza capitata, a little cool fuzzy bean. See, they're done flowering right now, but those flowers, when they do go off, are amazing. Radibeta pinnata. Okay, these are what provide the nectar for all the insects. Tons of good stuff here. Vernonias. Oh, look at that. We got a Physostegia, the aka obedient plant. Silphium integrifolium. Look at those filaries. Flowers are done, but those are those distinct Silphium filaries. Beatrice spicata, flowers are done, but it's just a giant spike of pink fireworks when it is going off, aka the blazing star, shooting star. I don't know the common name. It is phenotype with those flushing those pink anthocyanin pigments. That's nice in a veg. Get your Baptisia alba over there. Rattlesnake master, Eryngium yuccifolium. Another cool bean, dahlias. Just that's a hot pink spike when it's going off. It's done now, so those are all the seeds. Collect a couple, put them in a bag. See that? Little fuzzy beans, basically. The idea is you kill your lawn, you plant all this stuff, and eventually this stuff, because it's such an explosion of so much biomass in such a short amount of time. I mean, the prairie literally lights up with life in a matter of a few weeks, and this stuff just grows so fast, is that eventually this outcompetes and shades, steals the light from any of the other invasive quote-unquote weeds you might otherwise worry about, okay? Like this, see this poison ivy, all right? That thing's struggling, all right? There's only one plant there. It's not taking off. It's not climbing up a tree. It can't get enough light. The root space is outcompeted because the solidago is getting so big, along with that agriatina, and also the poison ivy is being shaded. This is one of my favorite plants too, Andropogon. Another really cool camp. You'll see those seeds are ready to go. See that? The pappus is up there. See that? Those, like, just looking like a little umbrella of fine filaments waiting to catch a wind current. Look at those uniseriate filaries. Only one series of roofing shingle bracts instead of, 2 or 3. Such a great plant when this goes off. Done flowering, but look at those goddamn leaves. Look how waxy that is too. Look at the waxy stem, the waxy farina. Undersides of the leaves are bangers. Arnoglossum atroplysifolium. But you gotta plant the grasses first. They're the foundation of all this. Yeah, look at that turnover. Goldenrods to Indian grass. You got Andropogon in there too. Andropogon and Sorghastrum are by far not the only grass species in the prairie, of course. All right, you also got a whole bunch of other bangers like Sporobolus, Sporobolus, however you want to pronounce that, Panicum virgatum, and many more. America used to look like this. Mid-America used to look like this. It wasn't always composed of a monoculture of turf grasses that didn't even evolve here, that evolved 9,000 miles away. Kentucky bluegrass isn't from Kentucky. It's not even from North America. There's nothing American about it. This is America. All this stuff is what makes the landscape around you and what made it for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years before you got here. All right, we need to bring this back, appreciate it. This is building soil, sticking carbon in the ground, and enriching everyone's life around it who gets to experience it, okay? Got to burn it once in a while, once a year, once every 3 years, whenever, Takes minimal management. Once you get it going, once you get it established, it's minimal management. You want to make a path through it? Yeah, you just cut a little path, mow it, mulch it, whatever. Look at that nice wasp. But this is life. This is what life should be, all right? Lawns aren't normal. They are weird. They're fucking weird. Stop doing them. Bring this stuff back. That's all I got. Go fuck yourself. Bye.